Hello, my name is Olawale Akinade, and I'm demonstrating the LT audit. So LT audit, this is LivingTree Audit Management System. It's a software that was developed with the aim of helping auditors to manage and organize audits, as well as keep track of their audit activities. Over here, we're currently on the dashboard. The dashboard, it presents an oversight of the key entities in the system. We have 5 auditable items. We have 2 complete audits. We have 1 ongoing audit and 1 pending audit. Over here on the dashboard, we can view newly added plans. We can view recent comments that were made on the plans, and we can view audits that are pending approval. That is the dashboard. Now, currently, we are logged in as an audit head. So the audit head, this is the highest rank of user in the system. An audit head is an auditor that also has abilities to manage key entities in the system. So one of the key tasks people do when they get the system, when they get the audit system, firstly, is the audit universe. The audit universe, it allows you to map out everything that goes on within everything that goes on within the organization, the kind of audits that take place. So the first item in the audit universe is the audit entity type. Within the audit entity type, you are able to create categorizations for the kind of audit entities you audit. As an example, we see here, we have banks, we have schools, we have internal departments. These are these represent a collection, a grouping of the kind of audit entities that you create. So to create an audit entity type, simply click on the create audit entity type button, and you can, in this case, let's assume you audit churches, and there you have it. You would have created an audit entity type. Now, the next item in the audit universe is the audit entity. The audit entity here, it's a specific entity that actually gets audited. In the audit entity type, we specified a categorization, but here in the audit entity, we are specifying the individual audited entity. In this case now, as you can see, we have Zenith Bank PLC, and the audit entity type is bank. We have Lafayette, and here we have bank. Also, I could decide to create an audit entity and say the name is Living Faith Ministries. That is, we want to audit Living Faith Ministries. I can specify the audit entity type as a church. I can specify um, some optional information like the code. Let me say LF and location. All these are optional, but you get the gist. So that is creating an audit entity. Now the next item we have is audit type. Now the audit type, this allows us to define the type of audit we wish to conduct. We have defined the audit entity type, we have defined the audit entity, and now we are defining the audit type. Now the audit type represents the type of audit we would like to conduct on an entity. By specifying an audit type, a group of controls to be tested will all be associated with an audit type will all be pulled together. So would look more about it when we are dealing with controls. But if you notice, when creating an audit type, you specify the name, you specify a default duration, default duration type, and we can also specify whether or not the audit type is active or inactive. So if an audit type is active, it can be made use of in new audits, but if it is not active, it can be made use of. So next we have the control section. So here in the control section serves as a logical grouping as well for different kinds of controls. Now, depending on how extensive the audit the audit organization is, we could have several controls you test, and you would need a way to group them appropriately. So I would say minimum an organization should have one control section. So, but depending on how many controls you have, you might need to group these controls into different sections. So for samples, I created section one, section two, but the control groupings could have more reasonable names attached to them. So next, finally, we have the controls. The controls here allows us to be able to define the kinds of tests we'd like to actually perform. Now, here we have a particular control with reference number AOG001. We can view details. We can edit this control. Now, if you view these controls, you notice something. There are some key information about the controls. We have the audit control reference. We have the control reference. We have the control name, the description, the control section. This control section here is telling us which section should this control we are adding belong. So in other words, you are grouping this control on that. So there must be so even if an organization doesn't have um, sections within, they must have at least one, so that all their controls can be binned within that section. But for more organized organization audit systems, they would need to be able to group their controls into some particular sections. Now, last one key important thing is the audit type. So this audit type, by assigning an audit type, we are saying this control that we are creating is relevant when conducting these audit types. In other words, when you are doing periodic check audit type, that means this control is relevant. When you are doing this test audit type, this control is relevant. I can add more school record management audits. It means um, this particular control is relevant for when conducting these audit types, meaning that when you are doing each of those audits, this control will appear there to be tested. That is it. So that is about setting up the audit universe. Now the next item is audit plan. The audit plan ideally is created at the beginning of the year and it comprises of all audits that will be conducted during that year. So to create an audit plan, you simply specify the year and you specify the name of that plan. You can see that an audit plan could be either draft or approved. Let's view the details of this audit. So over here is the audit. This over provides the opportunity for us to update an audit plan. So over here we can see key information about the name of the audit plan. Let me We can see the information about the audit plan, the year, whether or not it is approved, who created it, who approved it. Now, one thing you might be worried about is the impact of this unlocked button. This button allows the auditor to prevent the head of audit to prevent further updates to the particular audit plan. Over here, we have the opportunity to upload approval documents. So depending on the organization that is using this system, they may have approval documents for an audit plan and would provide opportunity to keep it here. So the goal of this system is to both manage audits as well as to help you keep track of documents that are being used in these audits. Now, another thing we can also do is assign auditors. By assigning auditors, that is in some depending on the organization, the audit head may not be the one that is responsible for adding audits into the plan. He may outsource this job to other auditees within the organization. That's what this enables the user to do, to assign people who can add audits into the plan. Over here, we are able to add audits into the plan. We do that by specifying the audit name, the audit entity. In this case, we can see the different audit entities we have in the system. We can also specify the audit type that I would like to conduct. We can see a duration, the duration type, whether it days, weeks, or months. And we can specify objective, scope, the date the audit is scheduled to start, and we can also specify a lead auditor. So that's regarding the audit plan. So next we have audits. Over here, audit plans that have been approved. When an audit plan has been approved, the audits in those plans they all appear in this audit page. Over here, we can see the audit reference, the name, the audit entity, the audit plan year, the audit type, the schedule date, and we can also see of the, the progress of the audit. You can view details about this audit. So over here we have the audit details page. So over here we can see key information about this audit. And if you notice, the status of the audit is not started. Now an audit has not started until you explicitly click on the commence audit button. So by clicking the commence audit button, then would be now the audit has commenced. Now the status of the audit is ongoing. Now we can see some key information about the audits. We're able to upload our opening meeting documents, upload the exit meeting documents, as well as upload audit reports. So all of these are just to provide a way of documenting and keeping track of documents that are made use of during the audit. Over here, we also have the audit controls. So in this case now, based on the audit type that we selected, in this case, the audit type is what? The audit the audit type is the periodic check audit type. Over here, we have the audit controls. The audit controls, these are the controls that will be tested during the execution of the audit. The audit controls that we see here in this table is a reflection of the controls that is a reflection of the controls that have been assigned to the particular audit type that we configured earlier. Over here, we can view details of the audit of the audit controls by clicking the view details button. So over here on this page, we're able to see who last treated this audit, which is reflected by this last treated by. This is presented because we could have multiple auditors working on the system and would like to be able to know who last updated this particular control. We could always set our control to partially compliant if it's not fully compliant, and there we have it. We would have had we've already updated the status of our control. Next we have comments. So we could say something is wrong here. And then here we would have a comments and other auditors that are working on this audit. They'll be able to view this. They'll be able to view this. Um, they'll be able to view this comment. Next, we have the findings. We are able to add a finding by clicking the add finding button. We can specify a reference. We can specify the description of the finding. We can specify when we expect this finding to be resolved, and probably I want it to be by April 16th. We can specify the severity of the finding. We say major, minor, opportunity for improvement. I would say it's a major non-conformity. Who is accountable? That is, who are we meant to charge for this finding that was made? This would be one of the auditees that you have stored in the system. Next, we have a recommendation. What do you recommend to be done to resolve this? The impact, let me just type in some things, the impact of the findings that was made. And optionally, you can tag auditees who can also attend to this issue other than this main owner. And then we save. And that is regarding the findings. And you can also view details as well for these findings. So over here on this finding details page, you are able to add evidences. You're able to add evidences to support your findings, and you're also able to add as well as view auditee responses. Now, depending on the kind of organization that you are working in, you may want the auditees to fill in their responses by themselves. To support that, there's also an auditee portion of the system where they can log in, view findings that were made, and then leave a response. But still, in some other organizations, they may not want to allow auditees to add their responses by themselves. In that situation, auditors are also able to add responses on behalf of auditees. They simply fill in the auditee's name, they type in the response that was made, you enter in when they made that response. It could be a time in the past, it could be time in the future. And then you can also add evidences as well that they may have provided and you save. And that is the response that they've made. You could always delete this, you could update it, and that's regarding the findings. So the report allows you to track progress and review details and monitor audits in a system. Now, our reports are grouped based on um, plan. Let's see. Let's do this John's plan. So within John's plan, we would see audits that are within that John's plan. Within this plan, we can say we have an audit called Audit of the Office of the Auditor General. We can view details about the audits. Within this page now, we're able to see we're cut. Within this page, we're able to see details about audits that have been conducted. Over here on this corner, we have the audit reports version. We have the audit reports version, and we can see that there are different versions. We have version 1 and version 2. Version 1 over here is the oldest version of the audit. And what the purpose of this versioning is to keep track of checkpoints, so to speak, to, to keep track of the audit report at various points in time, so that new audit activities doesn't override the past tasks that have been done in the past. We have some visualizations to show information about some statistics of the audit. We can see trends, we can see executive summary, and we're even able to export this data probably as PDF. Let's see. Should have a download coming. And when we view the details of the reports, here is the document executive summary showing the controls within the audit. So all of this, the goal of this is just to provide the opportunity to export data in raw form so as to provide opportunity for auditors to formulate their own reports. Next, we have the settings. So these settings allows the user of the system, the audit head, to be able to set some um, system-wide configurations. So these settings can increase depending on the level of change and customization that the users need. But for now, we're only able to set the time zone. Next, we also have the user management. So this user management allows the audit head to be able to add in new users to the system, update the roles of users in the system, and even remove users from the system. If you notice, we have this cancel button, this disabled button here. That's because we are currently logged in as this particular person and we can't update this user. But for other users, we can always update the rule of the user. And last but not the least, we have the activity history page. And so the activity history page allows us to be able to view details of the activities that are being done in the system. If you notice, this is me here. I recently deleted a finding response. I recently created a finding response. I recently created a finding and I also created a comment as well. So all of these are all activities that I have done within the system. So the purpose of this is to enable you to be able to track things that are going on in the system and to be able to hold people accountable. So yes, that's the demo of the system. I hope you like it.